Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have the Phantom Knight Orcust deck profile. It's very consistent. You've got your dangers, you've got a Lord of Darkness, Orchestrated Return, you've got tons of ways to extend. Like Foolish Burial's kind of like an extender in case you're well, Foolish Burial is more like a recovery play, but I'm just gonna go really in depth in it right now. So starting off with 2 World 1, you kind of have to run 2 because sometimes you won't always recycle the World 1 necessarily. Sometimes you're gonna either recycle the Nightmare or the Symbol Skeleton. So kind of 2 World 1. It's not even a brick if you draw it, because once you send 1 World 1 to the graveyard, its effect will activate, summoning the other one from hand. So you kind of have to play 2. Next you run 1 copy of Danger Nessie. The extenders are very important in this deck just to have. Nessie is a very good extender. It guarantees even if it gets sniped, you get another extender on top of it also discards a card and draws a card, which is very good with your Orcust, and on top of that it increases consistency. So you're running a pretty low card deck right here. 3 copies of Orcust Nightmare. Even though it's a level 7 or higher monster, I like to run 3, mainly because of cards like Lord of Darkness and Orchestrated Return, and Forbidden Droplet, not turning it into a dead card. So that is 3 copies of Orcust Nightmare. Next we have some bricks, unfortunately, which is the main reason why I bumped it up to 42 cards, because we run 2 bricks. Scrap Golem and Crystron Rosenix. Both, well, they're not bricks, they're actually garnet. Sorry, I had my terminology wrong right there. Scrap Golem, it's a garnet because you're going to be summoning off the effect of Scrap Wyvern, which can only summon monsters from the deck. So that's one thing. And 1 copy of Crystron Rosenix. It basically is an Olion. It's basically Olion in the old Orcust deck, where you send it off your Scrap Recycler. So that is another brick. But I'd say you have a pretty healthy chance of not drawing them with your 42 card deck, even though you are technically running like a 30 something card deck with your Dangers, Allure, and Orchestrated Returns. You kind of just have to hope you don't draw them. Crystron Rosenix is kind of less of a brick, mainly because you can discard it off your Forbidden Droplet or your Dangers. So it makes Crystron Rosenix kind of more of a brick, less than a garnet. But it's still not that great to draw, honestly. Next we have 3 copies of Gearsu, the Orcust Mech Knight. This is probably one of the most important starters. We're only running 2 starters. But Gearsu is super important just because it does, it's not only sends any World Legacy or Orcust monster to the graveyard, it also summons a token which can help you go into Galatea, which is super important. It has a 1 card combo that ends on 2 disruptions plus a ton of follow-up, and just a very good card. And next you run 1 copy of Tsuchinoko. It's just for the danger engine, because you do need extenders for your Gearsu for the combo that I showcased in my combo video. Don't forget to watch that video, by the way. It should be in the link in top right. Next we run 2 copies of Symbol Skeleton. You need to run 2 because this is a card you are going to be recycling, and it's very important to recycle 2 as it can recur your Dingirsu, and Dingirsu can send a card on special summon, so that's pretty important. 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. Scrap Recycler is probably the most important starter, as it ends on a Union Carrier lock on top of your 2 pops and 2 negates, which is pretty strong. And Scrap Recycler is just very important. In case you haven't seen the combo video, you just dump Rosenix instead of Olion, and then you can go into Scrap Wyvern, which I'll go over later, because Scrap Wyvern needs a scrap monster as material. A Scrap Recycler is pretty important for that as well. 1 copy of the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. You only need to run 1, honestly, because you are usually going to be dumping it off your Rusty Bardiche. So that's one thing, and it's pretty good as one of, even if you draw it, you're running 2 copies of Silent Boots anyways, so you dump that instead. 1 copy of Jackalope just to discard anything you really want, because most cards have graveyard synergy, like your Phantom Knights. Even if you do draw them, they have excellent graveyard synergy with your Dangers, and you run 3 Orcust Nightmares so that you can discard them off your Dangers or your Forbidden Droplet. Just a very nice card to have. 2 copies of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. The main reason why I run 2 instead of 1, it does help a lot. Even if you it not only guarantees that you have another copy in your deck, it's not bad at all to hard draw. Just because it's kind of similar to Orcust Nightmare, where it's okay to draw it and you can just discard it off cards. The Phantom Knight of Silent Boots is just a very important card, as it does get you to search for another Fogblade. On top of that, you can search it off your Ancient Cloak in order for it to act as an extra extender if you control a copy of Rusty Bardiche. So it's an extender, it searches the negate, it's got everything you really need, so it's more of a 2-of. And finally, our last monster, one copy of Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This is just for your Union Carrier lock. As I said in my combo video, you can do Union Carrier lock pretty easily in a 1.5 card combo with your Scrap Recycler and any Speller Trap. So that's pretty nice. Next, we run 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. We run 3 of this mainly because it does help get rid of copies of, say, Orcust Nightmare in our hand, and it is pretty important just to increase consistency. Since you are only running 6 starters, you want to just get to them as consistently as possible. So that's a reason why we play Allure. 1 copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is a lot more important because Call by Grave is at 1. I don't run Call by Grave in this build, unfortunately, but Instant Fusion, it's an extender on top of a technical Call by Grave because you can just summon Millenniumize Restrict off it. This is an incredible card by itself. As I said, you need the extenders as often as possible because of your Gear Suit combo. 3 copies of Orchestrated Return. This is mainly to pitch cards like Orcust Nightmare out of your hand or Royal Legacy World 1, and on top of that draws 2, which increases consistency of hitting your starters. So that's really nice. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. In case your starters get hand trapped of any sort, then Foolish Burial is a very important card to have. Another notable thing is with the Scrap Recycler combo, if it gets ashed and permed or anything, you have a decent amount of extenders to keep your plays going. Foolish Burial is technically an extender where if your Gear Suit gets ashed, if your Scrap Recycler gets ashed, Foolish Burial is very important to have, just acting as another form of sending cards. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. This is another extender. You're going to be sending cards to graveyard very often, so that just makes it more effective. 1 copy of World Legacy Succession. This is mainly for your lib play, but it is also just an extra extender, which is very nice. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet just drips with synergy in this deck just because you want so many cards in your graveyard like Orcust Nightmare, Symbol Skeleton, your Phantom Knight cards, your Crystron Rosenicks. You want all them in your graveyard, so Forbidden Droplet is just a very important card to have. Also really helps break boards going second. 1 copy of Orchestrated Babel. Orchestrated Babel is really helps get disruptions on the field during your opponent's turn. Back in Orcust format, well, not exactly full power Orcust, when Rusty Bardiche was banned and Mermaid was banned, say in like December 2019, a lot of people wanted Orchestrated Babel to be banned just because it really helps Orcust just get tons of disruptions. It helps all your Orcust graveyard effects get live on your opponent's turn, so you can use Orcust Nightmare to get follow-up. You can use Symbol Skeleton to revive Gear Suit, which can result in a pop. So Babel is just a really nice card. 3 copies of your Imperm. Even with Call by Grave at 1, I just like to use Imperm because I feel that's more effective in the current format. You can honestly run any hand trap instead of this. Forbidden Droplets is also something you can change. These are just utility cards. These can be anything you want, so that's nice. And finally, for our next few traps, 2 copies of Fogblade for our Rusty Bardiche and getting 2 free negates, and 1 copy of Orcust Crescendo. In case we say hard draw the Babel or something, then Orcust Crescendo is a pretty nice card to have, just acting as another Omni negate. The main deck is pretty tight. I didn't want it to go anywhere above 42 because I just felt that did hamper the consistency a ton. But I just really like this list a lot. It is very consistent, and I have 2-0'd multiple decks like Eldritch, Dogma. I just feel it's a very powerful deck, and I don't think I'd change anything in the main deck, honestly. In the comments of my last video, I did get a comment of saying you can set your Phantom Knight rank up magic with your Silent Boots instead of another Fogblade, and then you can go into a copy of Calamities on your opponent's turn. That is a very good suggestion, but you can do that. So take out whatever you need. So that's the main deck. For our extra deck, we run 1 copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict. It basically is another copy of Call by the Grave. 2 copies of Dingirsu. You definitely need to run 2, as you do kind of burn through copies of them. 1 copy of your Access Code Talker. This is sometimes a way to just finish games out of nowhere if your opponent isn't expecting it. Also, it's really good if you sometimes brick, but it's not very often you brick in this deck anyways. Access Code, just a pretty nice card to have. 1 copy of Longirsu. You kind of have to run 1 copy, as it does come up sometimes as an extra way to shuffle back material, and also popping cards, so that's one thing. Also with Babel, turns into a disruption. 1 copy of Unicorn for your IP Masquerena play, where you can make Unicorn on your opponent's turn and then shuffle back any card they have. 1 copy of the broken one, Rusty Bardiche. Rusty Bardiche, this should have never come off. This is just broken. In case you don't know what it does, it can send 1 Phantom Knight monster from your deck graveyard to set a Phantom Knight spell trap. So you can set Fogblade, and Fogblade is a negate, a monster negate, practically imperm, and it also stops the monster from attacking. And the Phantom Knight card in the graveyard, they can search an extender such as Ancient Cloak, and they can search another Fogblade with your Silent Boots. So it's just absolutely absurd. This card gets you 2 negates and a free extender. That too, it's very easy to make in this deck, as all it needs is 2+ dark monsters, so that is very nice. Next we run 1 copy of Lib. Lib just acts as another free extender if you have a World Legacy monster. It especially comes in clutch in your Scrap Recycler combo, where you first send a World Legacy monster to the graveyard, and then you can send an Orcust monster, an Orcust Nightmare too. So you can use Orcust Nightmare to send Symbol Skeleton instead of a World 1, and World 1 will be in the graveyard anyway, so it can trigger. On top of that, when it goes to the graveyard, it can spin a card it can spin a card on the field, which is it does come up sometimes, which is pretty nice. 2 copies of Galatea. You do run 2 because you do once again burn through copies of them pretty easily, and you do need the ability to just get cards like Orcust Crescendo on the field. 1 copy of Scrap Wyvern. Scrap Wyvern is very important to have, as it really helps extend your scrap plays, and it is very important in the Union Carrier combo too. 1 copy of Barricade Borg. I was running, in the combo video, I was running a copy of Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. I just changed that to Barricade Borg. As I said, it can be any Dark Link too, honestly. Barricade Borg is especially effective if just because it discards cards from your hand. So you can discard any nightmares you might have. So that's pretty, not nightmares, Orcust monsters you might have, such as Symbol Skeleton, which can help further your plays, which is very nice. 1 copy of Union Carrier for your Dragon Buster lock. You're going to be equipping it to Rusty Bardiche, if I recall correctly. 1 copy of your IP Masquerena. Not only does this come up as an extra disruption in your Girsu combo, it also comes up in the Girsu 1.5 card combo, where you need an extra extender. And in that place, Girsu, you basically get your old Rusty board, and just pretty absurd by itself. 1 copy of your IP Masquerena to go into Unicorn on your opponent's turn. On top of that, Unicorn is indestructible by card effects, so that is something to keep of note. A lot of people do misplay, say your opponent lightning storms or something, then your Unicorn might die. But a good thing about it is that if your opponent uses Lightning Storm while you control the Dingirsu, then you can just chain IP, go into Unicorn, and it will not be destroyed, which is pretty important. 1 copy of Link Kuribo. This is the last card. The reason why we run 1 copy of Link Kuribo is just to turn your Girsu token into an effect monster for your Galatea, because it needs effect monsters specifically. So that was the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. It's very consistent. It actually has some pretty decent matchups against the meta, if you have noticed. Especially, for some reason, this deck just does excellent against Eldritch, and those Eldritch players I've played against. Because I think I played like 2 or 3 Eldritch matches in a row, and I 2-0'd all of them. So I just feel that I think the matchup is pretty good, mainly because their only way to disrupt Orcust plays is kind of with Huaquero, because if they use Conquistador, you're getting the stuff in the graveyard where you want it to be anyways. Just a very, very consistent deck, and I hope you find it consistent too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, as it really does help the channel, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.